Yes people, just over 20 minutes of the Metro trailer being premiered on the SCR YouTube channel. Version 2.2.0 came out. Of course, the main focus of the update is the addition of a new operator Metro, something that we initially thought was defunct, but has been revived. So, let's get on with the review and see what's to offer. So, this is the new Metro map, which serves a lot of the same stations as Stepford Connect, with a couple of noticeable differences. First, there is a route going from the Stepford area to Morganstown via Benton, calling at Morganstown docks, exclusively served by the Class 756, but more on that later. Second, there are a few new parts added to the game exclusively operated by Metro, the Barton Loop branching from Bowden or Ellesmere Junction, with Coxley Newtown and Barton being the stations on the loop, and the Metro core section between St Helens Bridge and City Hospital with a new station at Four Ways, and High Street being moved underground and exclusively operated by Metro. The rest of the network is shared by Stepford Connect tracks, which does cause some problems, which we'll talk about later. Third, many of the stations that used to be operated by Connect are now exclusively operated by Metro, those being New Harrow, Ellesmere Pond, East Berryley, Bewley Park, High Street of course, Whitefield Lido and Hemden Park. A few additional stations are now owned by Metro but still served by Connect, including Angel Pass, Bowden, Coxley, Berryley, City Hospital, Financial Quarter, Beachley and Stepford UFC. So with that out of the way, let's see what rolling stock they have for us. There are 4 trains in the Metro fleet, one of them was transferred from another operator. That being the Class 717, which got transferred from Connect to Metro. I guess it makes sense for the 717 to run on Metro, given that it runs on an underground section between Moorgate and the southern end of Drayton Park. The interior was upgraded with the Metro seating moquette and red doors, which looks pretty good. The Class 717 is free to drive by the way. Since the 1st of January 2025, we heard that the Class 777 would be coming to Metro, and over 5 months later, here it is, in both single and double car variants. Before Metro was confirmed, we initially thought it would suit Waterline, but I'd say it's good that they decided to add the 777 on Metro instead. I think it suits Metro better than Waterline. But anyway, it looks good on the outside, as well as the cabin and interior. I notice that there are even in-carriage maps on the Class 777, a pretty cool feature. This must be the first train in the game to have in-carriage maps. The next train is the Class 756, the first tri-mode train on SCR. It can run on all routes on Metro, including the Stepford Victoria to Morganstown via Benton route that we discussed earlier. I'm not such a huge fan of the front of the Class 756 on Metro, but I guess it's a good addition to the fleet. Here is the cabin and interior of the Class 756, which look good inside nonetheless. And finally, we get to the Class 555, a train that I wasn't expecting for Metro or SCR in general. There are a few differences between the Class 555 and the other Metro trains. The first is that the 555 uses the 1500 volt DC overhead system, while the rest use the 25,000 volt AC overhead system. Second, the Class 555 uses the NDC safety system, although the Tyne and Wear Metro does share national rail tracks between Sunderland and Peela, which uses the typical AWS and TPWS systems alongside the NDC system. The Class 555 was proposed to be a dual voltage train, where it would run on both DC and AC overhead power, but this never happened. But anyways, the Class 555 in SCR comes in a double car variant as well. Here is the cabin and the interior of the Class 555. As you can see, the Class 555 is the first train in SCR to have completely longitudinal seating, with the Class 345 only having partial longitudinal seating. As such, I hope to see the Class 378 and 710 on Metro in the future, both of which having longitudinal seating throughout. You can also see that the Class 555 has door lights, green for the doors opening and red for the doors closing. This is also featured in the Class 777. Then, we get to the routes. Quite a few routes on Metro got transferred from Connect, as shown here. The main difference is that these routes run on the Metro core section, including stopping at Four Ways and High Street, except the St. Helens Bridge to Port Benton route, which is unchanged. These are the new routes added to Metro, including the Barton routes, and the SV to Morganstown via Benton route, exclusive to the 756. And fun fact, the person that voices the Metro announcements is David Shepard, the person that announces the safety announcements on GWR services. But anyways, let's move on to the stations. Here is the first new station for Metro, Four Ways, situated by the Stepford Connect headquarters. I quite like the green livery at platform level. Then you get to High Street, which has a bus stand at one of the entrances, along with a new head office, a new flyover for express tracks, and the Whitefield line for Connect is still in operation, but only diesel trains can run on it. Of course, High Street used to be on Stepford Connect, but not anymore. Looking at the Do Not Alight Here signs. Inside the concourse you will see the entrance to the head office. At platform level, there are 4 platforms, the curved platforms heading to and from Stepford UFC, and the straight platforms heading to and from St. Helens Bridge. Quite a nice looking station inside and out. Then we get the reopening of Coxley Newtown, situated by the level crossing at Coxley. A pretty good station both at ground level and at platform level. And then the final new station is Barton, a neighborhood situated between Coxley and Ellesmere Junction. The station entrance looks a bit like a shopping center, and when you get to platform level, it's a typical underground station with island platforms, but a nice station nonetheless. Of course, there are new platforms added to Stepford Central and Stepford East, 4 Metro platforms at each station. They are both pretty good looking, but out of the two, I think the best livery comes from the Metro platforms at Stepford East. To be fair, I was struggling to find the Metro platforms at Stepford East, but I found that it's just by this entrance. Of course, to accommodate the new underground sections, there are an addition of 5 tunnel portals, one between City Hospital and Stepford Central, between High Street and St. Helens Bridge, between High Street and Whitefield Lido, between Coxley Newtown and Bowden, and between Barton and Ellesmere Junction. There is the addition of an underground metro platform between High Street and Stepford East, and Beryley Depot was upgraded for trains to exit at either side. It's good that now Connect and Metro trains can come out of the Beryley Depot both to the Stepford area and to Morganstown. Now with Metro out of the way, let's talk about other features that have been added. There is a new Connect route, from Willowfield to Whitefield, only used by diesel trains. Speaking of which, the reason why it's only used by diesel trains is due to the overlines being removed along the High Street curve and after Stepford UFC. Some areas of the network are still yet to receive overhead lines, such as Benton Bridge and the line between Benton Bridge and Hampton Hargate. How the fuck can the developers forget to include this? This has been a problem for over 4 years now, and still hasn't been done. What has also been added is longer HST units, with 7, 8 and 9 coaches, with the 8 coacher being carried by buffer class 43s. I think it's good that we now have longer HST units on SCR, but all of them are still slam doors, and no sliding door variants. And then you've got the class 745 on L-Link, which is a good addition to the game. It came to the game after about 2 years of the first 745 car marker being put on the L-Link platforms at St. Helens Bridge. The cabin of the 745, as well as the interior, look pretty good. However, what is fucking criminal is that the class 755 did not get added to Stepford Connect, which I find ironic given that the class 717 got transferred to Metro, and the class 755 did not get a remesh. The class 755 better get moved to Connect when it gets a remesh, or heads are gonna roll big time. Now to talk about some of the other changes to the game. The first is that the class 180 can now be driven on the Rayleigh Bay line. Thank fuck for that. Given that the Rayleigh Bay line is a non-electrified route, and the class 180 is a diesel train, you can finally do so. Also, you can no longer drive from Lynn to Benton on the double class 180, which is also good news, given that in the previous update, before entering the platform at Benton, you'd approach a red signal which would never go off, which was absolutely frustrating. Parts of the Stepford City area got an upgrade, with the tracks at between Stepford East and Stepford Central being more straight, and the Stepford East area receiving a different track layout, with the overpass from the Stepford Depot or Stepford East to Stepford Central on Connect being replaced by an underpass, and some other upgrades which I can't be asked discussing. Then you've got the upgraded Ellesmere Pond station, which looks better. Note that the pond is east to the station. And you've got some other bug fixes, upgrades and changes which I can't be asked to include in this video. Oh wait, the ad station announcements have been upgraded, with now including delayed announcements, including by how many minutes, and the short platform announcements were improved, to be train specific rather than generic to number of coaches. Given that some trains have more coaches and are shorter than others, this is now more useful. Now to talk about some of the problems with this update. As you know, in many parts of the map, Metro shares tracks with Connect, and now Metro has the slowest train in the game, the Class 555, with a top speed of 50 miles an hour. In some parts of the map, Metro trains can go on Connect tracks with a maximum speed of 90 or 100 miles an hour. Therefore, I would not drive the Class 555 to the Port Benton area or Willowfield area. Now to give my final thoughts on version 2.2. Overall, it was a pretty exciting update, with the addition of Metro, a few new stations added and the addition of the Class 745 in the game. I also liked some of the changes, such as being able to ride the Rayleigh Bay Express with the Class 180, and no longer stopping at an ever-disappearing red signal before Benton on a double Class 180 when attempting to terminate at Benton from Lynn, as you can no longer do Lynn to Benton on a double Class 180. I did find the de-electrification of the Whitefield line, apart from between Stepford UFC and Whitefield Lido, quite surprising, given that usually we would electrify the line, not do the opposite. I found the Class 555 a pretty surprising addition to Metro, given a few differences between it and the other electric trains in the game. But the real kick in the bollocks is that the Class 755 did not get transferred to Connect, given the addition of the classes 745 and 756 on Ellington Metro respectively. They better move the 755 to Connect soon, or things will get ugly. Before I go, I have 2 questions for anyone watching. What did you like the most about the update and what did you like the least about the update? Tell me below. That's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe for future content, and I will see you later.